You did it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
If you're on time, you're late. Wait, is it 15 minutes early is on time? If you're on time, you're late. If you're
Uh,
late, unacceptable.
yeah. And they were cruel sometimes. I've seen them send uh, repeat offenders to the grave for being 2 minutes late.
Wow.
Yeah. If you was a, you know, you didn't miss formations, and they
Mhm.
understood certain things, but if you became a chronic offender, they made an example quick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you see any disparities between maybe whites and blacks in terms of their punishment?
Well, I had the, I guess, fortunate slash unfortunate opportunity. Usually, the units I was in, I was either the only black,
Mm,
being in special operations is not conventional surgery. And so at that level, they pretty much meted out punishment evenly across the board because 99% of the people they were dealing with were Anglo-Saxon.
oh, okay.
Yeah, like in my Ranger class, we started out at 360. There were two blacks and two Mexican Americans. And of course, both of the blacks made it, both of the Mexican Americans made it. But we finally graduated 160 out of that 300, over 300. But when I finally got to Vietnam, that's when I saw the racial disparities in handing out punishment. Uh, Everybody smoking marijuana. Commander comes in, he runs all of the white guys out, and the black guys, some of them got Article 15, some of them even got Article 32s. It ended
Wow.
up, and everybody was smoking in there, and we've encountered some of those men. We've had great success in upgrading the character of their discharges, from
Mhm.
bad conduct to honorable.
Mhm.
Because when you go into the go into the administrative records, you find out that they were not alone. There were 8 or 9 people in violation, but only two gets, you know, non-judicial punishment. And so, yeah, it was very much alive because by the time, uh, let's see, 1969 and 70, when Vietnam was at its height, the fighting units was 60 to 70% African American. We don't make up that kind of percentage of the population in this country. So,
Wow.
yeah, and these are digital secrets that the military tend to hide,
Mhm.
you know, uh, handing out medals of valor. You also see discriminatory practices there. I saw a young lieutenant who was an OCS candidate. I mean, the work that he did was not only above and beyond the call of duty, but he saved 300 people in the process. And
Mm.
when command wrote him up, they wrote him up for a Bronze Star. And
Hmm.
I've seen guys that did lesser things, went in for Silver Stars, Service Crosses. I never had the opportunity to see somebody perform at the Medal of Honor level. But,
Mm.
you're talking about the Service Cross and Silver Star. man, that's some horrendous above and beyond the call. So
Right.
yeah, I've witnessed it, you know, throughout my career, and when I got to the latter end of my career, that's when it was really on display because by
Mm.
then we'd gone from the draft to all volunteer,
Oh,
and so yeah, the disparities are there even to this day. They're still there. Even young men that are graduating from the academy of the military, they're being discriminated against. West Point just had an issue where one of their graduates had the opportunity to go to the NFL,
I heard about that story.
and they didn't. They denied him. But every other year, when they had a white player that was good enough, they gave him an exemption instead of sending him to active duty. They assigned him to active reserve,
Hmm.
and that allowed him to play.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. It still exists in this day and age.
it's just very much sophisticated.
Hmm. And systemic.
Oh
It's
goodness,
baked
yeah.
into some things.
Oh yeah. And people a lot of times get upset when you use that word. But during World War II, there were no Medal of Honors given to men of color.
Really.
Not a single one. Now that didn't mean that they did not earn them, but the word was don't submit them because we're not going to approve them. They don't deserve them. And right now we got over 69 that has been awarded to the families of these
Mm.
men after they went in and reviewed the records and reviewed the medals that they did give them. Uh, they realized when they looked at the write-up, my God, this is beyond a Bronze Star. This is
Mm.
beyond a Silver Star. This is beyond the Service Cross because when you compare what they did against a lot of the Anglo-Saxons that got the Medal of Honor, there was no comparison. So,
Mm. All
they,
right.
but they're actually trying to make amends. But again, the system is still, not on a level playing field.
Yeah, I agree with that,
Yeah.
Commander Taylor. It is 0800 hours on Saturday, July the 3rd. As you know, I'm in the military or was in the Air Force, so we're all about on-time takeoff. So we're going to go ahead and get started as people join us. What I'd like to do, first of all, is to thank you for carving out time in your schedule. I know it's early on a Saturday morning. I know you have breakfast that you may want to eat, or you may need to prepare for your families, or you may want to be out and about taking a walk. But hopefully, this hour of power will be worthwhile to you, and you will continue to join us for at least 60 minutes on your Saturday mornings. So what I love to do every time I have these types of events is to go around the horn and give everyone about 60 seconds to introduce themselves. It's always great to know who's in the room. So we will start with Commander Taylor. Could you give us a 1-minute bio? Over.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Taylor. I am Commander of NAP Vet Chapter 96, Vietnam era, Vietnam veteran. And I guess the rest is history. 29 years, retired Sergeant Major.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Commander Taylor. Mr. Billy Gregory.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Billy Gregory. I'm a retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant. I served 30 years in. I'm 100% disabled, as well as I'm a Vietnam vet and a Desert Storm vet as well.
Awesome.
I'm from Arkansas.
Oh man, okay. Yes, I'm from Lake Village.
Yeah, I read your bio.
Okay, all right. We'll have to chat offline.
Right.
Okay. All right, next, let's go with Mr. Hamid Mitchell. Hamid, you're on mute, or we can't see you, but it doesn't seem like you're on mute though.
Testing 1, 2. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yep.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hamid Mitchell. Born in New York, raised in Baltimore. Spent 10 years in the Navy. I'm a life coach, and I'm also a public promotional. Boy, it's early. Don't have these things so early next time. Motivational speaker. Currently, I work for the Department of Defense, still with the Navy, and glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. Dr. Sheila McCullers.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sheila McCullers. I was in the Army, and I did biological research, and I'm from Alabama, the #1A state. And I'm happy to be here today.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Sheila. Next, Demaine Collins.
Morning, everyone. Demaine Collins. I'm still a reservist in the U.S. Army, 05, and I also work for the Department of Defense, U.S. Navy. I have a passion for learning and just technology and just basically being around positive people.
All right. Thanks, Demaine. Commander Georgia Eves. You're on mute, Commander Eves.
I'm trying to unmute. I got 2 computers going up. I'm doing the wrong control. Anyway, good morning. I'm Georgia East. I'm a U.S. Army 15-year veteran. I came out a captain. I went in the E1, made E6, went to OCS, and came out as an 03. So I just think that I am now the Region 8 commander of the National Association for Black Veterans, better known as NAVVETS. I am a retired from Internal Revenue Services. I am an avid worker for veterans. I'm a mother of 3, a grandmother of 7, and a great-grandmom of 3. And I love my veterans and my family members. And I just keep it going because y'all keep me young. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Commander Eves. All right, Mr. Nat Alston.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nat Alston, and I'm chairman live here in Columbia. I'm a native Baltimorean, and I am the president and founder of the Horizons Group and also chair of the Ujima Business Roundtable. And good morning, and thank you all for your service.
All right, thanks, Mr. Alston. And I'm Dr. Xavier Bruce, U.S. Air Force retired Lieutenant Colonel, CEO of Uplift Energy Coaching, Executive Director of Uplift Empowerment, and the commander of the NAVVETS, which stands for National Association for Black Veterans, the Western Maryland chapter. This effort is in collaboration with Montgomery County, the NAACP, their NAVVETS chapter, and the African American Health Program, again, out of Montgomery County. Now, on to what you all have been waiting for. Our speaker this morning is a U.S. Army retired major who served over 25 years in multiple military leadership roles. He led troops twice in combat action to Iraq and Afghanistan. He is a life member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He currently serves as the Keeper of the Keeper of Finance, as well as chairman of the Membership Selection, Reclamation and Retention, Social Action, and Achievement Week committees. He is also completing his 2nd year as the Vice President of the Frederick chapter of the National Pan-Atlantic Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Major Retired Torrance Beck. Over.
Good morning, everyone. How you all doing?
Good to go.
I'm from Talladega, Alabama, so I hope you're not a Roll Tide fan because I went to Auburn, so Dr. McKellar. If you are, issue.
Roll Tide, roll it, roll it.
What part of Alabama are you from, ma'am?
Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
I'm not a Tide fan for real. I'm just joking you.
No, this I don't shoot. You
I'm
so
Jerry, Commander 96, Montgomery, Alabama.
okay. All right, you from the Montgomery, the Gump.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm actually trying to pull up my computer so I can actually do it on my computer instead of my phone, but it's not working. So I'm just going to improvise to continue to be still and do it on my phone. I talked to Dr. Bruce this morning, and I've been all day yesterday. I was just thinking about what I was going to talk about, and the topic is mental health during the pandemic. And everybody on the call has served in the military, and serving in the military, you experience some type of traumatic event. If it's just from the time you went to your basic course or basic training, when you left home and getting acclimated to the military and getting acclimated to the military life, from your life, from wherever you came from in America, it was totally different when you first joined the military. To moving on to some of the combat action that I've heard people talk about, especially the members that have served in Vietnam and other places. So we've seen things, we witnessed things. We've also, we've had, some racial issues in the military. We have all kinds of political issues in the military. So a lot of things have been done in the military, especially even treatment of women in the military. So we always, we've seen things and we've suffered from things, and those are traumatic events. So like during the pandemic, for the most part, most of us had a normal life doing something. We was living a rat race. So we was in the hustle and bustle, and we were just doing whatever it was we were doing. And we enjoyed it. Some of us enjoyed it, some of us didn't, but we did what we did. During the pandemic forced the majority of us to sit and be still in your house or your place where you live. And with that came on the onset of a lot of different things that wasn't expected. No one knew how to deal with it. The government had no plans. It was just to try to keep everyone safe during the pandemic. I know personally, I had I enjoyed being at home at first. I really did enjoy being at home. Then some things happened to me personally from the fact of being at home all the time. So I was in school working on my MBA. I had to take a break. I just completed the class, not the last class, but the class that I was started a year ago. I had to take a break. But while I was at home, I had to learn who I was, learn some things about me, because I had so many external things that had going out the house or outside of myself that now I sit at home every day. Who am I? And how do I keep from going crazy by being in the house? Recently, I went to the doctor and did an annual exam, and the COVID-20 finally caught me. For a while, I was doing very good with the COVID-20, but with the COVID-20, how it caught me was I don't sleep. I don't sleep because I'm home all the time. And even when I work, sometimes I may take a cat nap during the middle of the day, not long. I have some very understanding supervisors. We have core hours and we're allowed to do things, but they realize that we're home, and I'm actually more productive at home than I am at work. I mean, in the office, because when you're home, you have to actually produce products and do things day to day. Whereas in the office, you can walk around. I can go see Commander Taylor. I can go see a few people with a clipboard in my hand, and nobody questions what I'm doing, but we're just here shooting the jive, right? Well, when you work from home, you actually have to do things. So with that, gaining weight. What is the reason you gain weight? You gain weight because you're eating and you're doing less activities. Well, why? What is the byproduct of that? So if something is bothering you, a lot of people like to sit down and just something's uncomfortable. What they like to do comfortable. They can just eat a snack and it's comfortable and they feel comfortable. And you get so comfortable before you realize you're causing health issues, and it's all because you're trying to cope with something else. As I talked to Dr. Bruce this morning, the news. We should call the news Bad News Network. When you turn the TV on, what do you see every day when you turn the TV on? My phone, right before we started talking, I had a ticker come across my phone talk about the Florida building collapse. everything that we see on the news, because we have to protect our minds and our bodies, because it's a sponge, and we have receptors, and we receive so much information that transmit, our brain and our synapses are firing all the time, receive this information. But sometimes we don't realize how harmful this information is to us, because it's just the way of life. But if you look at if you look at the news every day and you turn it on first thing in the morning, and all you hear is suicide bombing in Afghanistan kills 100 people, terrorist attack in Jakarta, Indonesia, and just et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So-and-so failed the drug test. This person's up on this scandal. This person's going to prison. Well, what have you heard positive? So you're starting your day off with bad news, and you don't even realize that bad news is seeping into you. It can be into a negative way. And the reason why I'm sharing is, like, during this COVID environment, we're at home. A lot of us have become TV aficionados. A lot of us have watched a lot of TV. We've watched a lot of things that we probably would have never watched. How many of you watched that? What was the crazy man with the tigers? Tiger King. Did anybody watch the Tiger King on Netflix?
Yep.
I watched 5 episodes before I said, that's enough of this BS. I'm not watching this anymore. But we watched wasteful things on TV because we were sitting at home. Now, instead of, because this is the first time most of us experienced this, and like even when someone's retired and like fully retired, we go through a withdrawal because we have interaction with people on a day-to-day basis. So and go back to news, it's the bad news network. I didn't watch the news for 2 days. And when I finally saw the news the other day, it came on. First thing was negative, I turned it off. And my spirits and I was uplifted, and I felt good because I was on a positive note. There's 2 football teams in college. They have logos that they tap every time they go out and play on the field. That's the University Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame, and University of Oklahoma. They've both been doing this like since the 1940s. And the logo is play like a champion. Notre Dame has 11 national championships. Oklahoma has 7. So every time they go on the field, Oklahoma even takes their banner on road games. Lou Holtz, he did some history when he took over in '86 as a Notre Dame coach. He realized there was a banner that used to be in the stadium, so he had to put it back up. In 2004, that slogan was actually patented by some company. But every time Notre Dame hits the field, they tap that sign, play like a champion today, to go back and revisit the old historic championship seasons that Notre Dame had. We have to do the same thing for ourselves during this COVID environment, and just after that. When we wake up in the morning, we have to have something positive to start our day. When I joined the military, my first duty station, I was in 5th of the 20th Infantry in Korea, and we got this platoon sergeant. I got there 3 weeks later. We had a new platoon sergeant. He was a former drill sergeant he's from New York City. I forgot which borough, but a black guy, Howard Rouse. He was very, very, very strict, and his rules was if he knocked on your door and you had a quart of trash in your trash can, you took out trash for the entire barracks for a week. If your bed wasn't made, he had a pair of pliers in the key in his back pocket. If your bed wasn't made about a certain time, so if you got up at 8 o'clock and you just got to bed, your bed was made on the weekend, he didn't care. But if it's 11 o'clock and your bed's still not made, you had to take your bed apart piece by piece and walk it across the street to the CP, the command post, set it up, drop a quarter. Once the quarter bounced, take it back apart, take it to your room, just for not making your bed. Now, it only happened one time. We saw it happen to Hernandez, who was a knucklehead. He did it. But guess what? To this day, when I get up, the first thing I do is I make my bed. And I make my bed so when I come back to get back in it, it feels fresh. So we have to start our day with routines of positive nature every day. And that is how we can be successful during this pandemic and even in the future. As I stated before, we all have triggers and things that have happened in the military that can easily, trigger something in us. So many people on edge. They've been locked in the house for a year. You have to be safe and careful when you go outside, especially right now. People in traffic, road rage, the whole mask mandate. Some people didn't believe in the mask. They don't want to wear the mask. They don't care about other people's personal safety. So, mental health, and, it's very, very real. There's a lot of campaigns, a lot of different agencies, especially amongst the Black community. The Black community is probably the last community that's actually embracing mental health. For the longest, we've always just pushed it off and said, oh, man, that Xavier, that boy got loose cannon, that boy crazy over there. And we joke about it. But no, Xavier needs some damn help. But, or Torrance needs some help. But nobody wants to get any help. So I'm not ashamed to say I've been a therapist. I think I've had like four or five therapists I've been to. And one, I went for a year straight, every Monday morning, 8 o'clock. The first 6 months I was going to see a therapist, she brought out the Kleenex. I went through so much Kleenex in that office. But after about the 6th month, after listening to the things that we outlined that would help me recover and, regain myself, my former self, and get back on my feet, I didn't need the tissue anymore. And I would just go see her just, as a follow-up. But even now, during the pandemic, I did call the VA again and schedule some appointments. And I had 1 or 2 appointments. I'm fine, but I still need to go back and do just a routine checkup with someone, to talk to someone, because what I found is you need to share your problems with a professional, not your family and your friends, other people that can cast judgment or whatever. So it's okay to talk to someone. Don't be ashamed to talk to someone. In the Black community, the first thing we want to do is, no offense, is let's go to the church and let's go talk. We're going to drop down on our knees and we're going to pray. You still need to pray, but you also need to get help. And, I'm going to tell the pastor, I'm going to tell this person. Sometimes it's better to tell someone that has no relationship to you at all, so you can actually be honest and truthful to yourself and that person and share what's wrong with you so you can get some help. And we have to be careful because those things are generational. We pass them down from one person to the next. I recall being in a barbershop a couple of years ago here in Frederick, and we were just talking about Black men in the 70s. And I don't know if the gentleman from Vietnam can relate, but I do remember my father. He went to Vietnam. He was in the National Guard. He went to Vietnam, I think, 66, 67. He was an infantryman. He came back from Vietnam and he drank a 6-pack of beer every day, and he smoked cigarettes. Back then, people were smoking cartons of cigarettes. He smoked a carton of cigarettes, but he drank some beer every day. He worked as a landscape foreman at the Federal Correction Institute. So, he worked at the Federal Correction Institute in my hometown, but he drank every day. And as an adult, I realized what he was doing now. He was self-medicating himself from whatever demons that he was facing. And, we don't realize that. We look at things that's been passed on from generations, like, why do we drink alcohol, or why do we have drinks, or why do we do certain things? It is to self-medicate from something. And we find vices that are not healthy to try to get us past our mental issues. So some of the things that we could do that's healthy is exercise, sleep, actually good sleep. And Dr. Bruce and a few of our fraternity brothers had a discussion last week about healthy habits, incorporated from sleep and your lifestyle. But sleeping, good nutrition, exercise, reading is great for you. It's okay to watch television and indulge in some of the things that you like. We all have guilty pleasures. If you like, I like cycling. So I try to cycle as much as I can. I did hurt my knee somehow, so I'm trying to make sure my knee is fully recovered. But I do plan on going to the gym today. Sometimes after I get off this call, going to the gym. And like I said, things I like to do. I'm a small business owner. I have a little food company, catering company. So I've been cooking since 3 o'clock yesterday. I just took 2 pork shoulders off the grill. I actually have something on the grill right now that I probably should go check on, but I think it'll be okay. And then I'm about to cook some salmon and baked beans and macaroni and cabbage all on the grill for a friend who's having an event today. So I like cooking and I like learning how to cook, and it's relaxing to me. So whenever I have a crisis, or I think I'm having a crisis or something's going on, I turn it on to YouTube and I look at the cooking channel and I watch chefs, and then I go out and buy food and I experiment. And the downside is when you cook a lot, what else you do? You eat a lot. So I have to be careful with that. So I got to balance everything. So I say balance. So you got to balance your life. And the big takeaway is we got to find things that are positive and put those positive things in our lives every day. And, it takes 21 days before something becomes a habit, 21 days. And before you become an expert at something, you need 10,000 hours. That's a lot of hours. I did the math actually. And if in work years, I think it's 5 years of work. It's like it's 5 years of work in a profession before you consider an expert, which is 10,000 hours. That's on a 40-hour work week. And that's not even including vacations. So it's just straight 5 hours, which is not realistic. So maybe 5.5 years or 6 years, you're considered an expert. Well, we got to look at the same thing about our mental fitness and our stamina. You know, how do we be an expert at protecting that? And we have to work on that. And, you know, sometimes you have to give up things, give up people, relationships, situations, circumstances out of your life. And it may be the best for you. It may be difficult, but sometimes you have to move on so you can make sure you protect your mental stamina. Something during the pandemic that you may have seen a lot is people talking about protecting their peace or protecting their space. Sometimes I used to laugh about it and joke about it, but it's real. If you are not good yourself, you cannot be good to no one else. You can't help your mate, your husband, your wife. You can't help your children. You may think you are, but some of your issues are still going to be passed down unconsciously to your loved ones. So we have to heal ourselves and take care of ourselves before we can take care of anyone else. You hear that when you get on a plane, when the oxygen mask comes down, you put yours on first before you put it on someone else. Too many of us, we worry about our family, our children, our parents, our loved ones, or whatever, and we don't take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, who are we? Now, taking care of yourself doesn't mean be selfish. And that's what people look at that, they take that motto and become selfish. Well, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm a YOLO, you only live once. No, that's not taking care of yourself. That's you being selfish. So let's be realistic about it. You know, when I say take care of yourself, do the healthy things that help you day to day. You cope and manage and structure your life. We've all had some type of military experience, and we know what a regiment is, whereas a day-to-day activities. And when we retired, you know, I was like, man, I retire, I'm not working out, man. I'm not doing that. I 20 plus years of running. Nope, I'm not doing it, right? But then I look at people like Commander Bruce or Dr. X, you know, and some other people's like, man, he still look good. And my clothes don't fit no more. That suit was expensive. I'm not gonna buy another suit. So I try to put the suit on and I feel like Miss Piggy. I feel like a little stuffed pig in the suit, right? So what's my next recourse of action? I got to push back from the table and I got to exercise. So those daily habits that I've been doing for 20 years, 25 years plus, whatever, they were actually very good. So some of those things I have to pick up. Now, some of them, getting up at 4:30 to go do some things, no, I don't need to do that. You know, I'm sorry, I don't need to get up at 4:30. But going to bed at night, instead of going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning like I did in Afghanistan, I can go to bed earlier so I can get some sleep. So just to recap, you know, positive inspirations, positive things in your outlook on a day-to-day basis. You know, maintain your peace and keep your peace and remove things that are causing you stress. And we all know what stress is, and it comes in many shapes and forms, in fact, and it comes in many shapes. I'm not going to switch to my phone because I did have a few other things I wanted to talk about and I don't want to switch to my phone because switch off my phone because if I do, it'll take me off the screen. But, you know, play like a champion today. Every day you leave your house, you know, if you have to have your motivation, something in your bedroom when you wake up, you turn to that's positive and uplifting. And as you leave your house, you can put something over your door. So you tap it on your way out the door. You have something in your car, whatever you do, you know, along with, you know, your prayer and your daily form of worship. Those things right there help you get through anything. So at this time, Dr. Bruce, I will open the floor up.
Oh, wow. Before we open the floor to any questions that you all may have, I want to give Mr. Beck a round of applause for his vulnerability, his transparency, and such a great way to start our Saturday. So thanks again, Mr. Beck, I appreciate it. Wow, that was awesome. I got a lot of notes over here, but before I kind of go over some of the things that you mentioned, we had a couple of more people join us that I want to give an opportunity for a 1-minute introduction. Miss Anna Towns, could you introduce yourself? Oh, you're on mute, Miss Towns.
Okay,
There you go.
now you can hear me. I'm Anna Towns. I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I am an accredited veterans attorney. I assist veterans with service-connected disabilities. I am so happy to be on this call this morning. That was so inspirational, so helpful, and I want to take a lot of that with me and to share it with others. Just want you to know how grateful I am to have heard Mr. Beck this morning, and I intend to continue with you, Xavier, and looking forward to some great times together.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Towns. Appreciate that. And Mrs. Ann Austin, could you introduce yourself?
Like someone has a phone call. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Ann Austin, and I am the CEO and founder of Austin Tech, which is a small business development company. And I'm also executive director of Destination Achievers, which is a workforce development company. And it definitely is a pleasure to be here on the call. It was a great speech this morning by the gentleman. I really enjoyed it. I am not a veteran, however, I have many family members who are veterans, and I can certainly understand the mental health perspective because my son is also a veteran. And so my passion to support veterans has always been from the perspective of a family member who is seeking to, to have their family member come back out of the military and be able to sustain and be healthy. So I'm glad that I'm able to join this meeting, and I thank Dr. Xavier for inviting me, and he is going to be the keynote speaker of the upcoming Veterans Biz Up Conference. So thank you for supporting the event, and I hope everybody will be able to attend, and I will send that information to him. He can share it out to everyone. Thank you so much again.
Thanks, Ms. Austin. And you bring up a good point. If each of you all could put your name, your email address, maybe even your website in the chat pod, that way we can start building a community of veterans and have contact information on each person. That would be great if you're comfortable doing that, because it's important that we connect, that we cultivate this connection, and it's not just something that we do every once in a while and you only see each other during an event like this. So again, if you're comfortable doing that, please put your contact information in the chat pod. Going back to Mr. Beck, he mentioned some things that resonated with me. So before I open it up to any questions that you all had, he mentioned that we all have triggers. And some of us have more sensitive triggers than others. And I have my own triggers, my own set of triggers, and you all do too. So he mentioned something about removing stress. And one thing that he mentioned was this idea of self-medication. And for some reason, it seems like Black people, Black veterans in particular, sometimes we go to the bottle. We go to the alcoholic drinks or the beer, and it's to try to drown out some of the issues that we may have faced in the military, or it may be to try to alleviate some of the actual physical pain that we may be facing now that we're out, some of the ailments that we have throughout our bodies. So that's something that I picked up on, because that's something that I deal with as well. And something else he mentioned that was very enlightening and transparent and vulnerable is the fact that he went to a therapist. I've done that as well. And I thought that the couch would be a bit more comfortable, but it was enlightening what I learned about myself and what I learned from how I was brought up and the things that happened to me during, my teenage years, even at the Air Force Academy, how that has created some triggers that I have even today. So with that said, with that as a backdrop, I wanted to open up the floor. This is a conversation on COVID-19 pandemic perseverance. So if you can take a look at or kind of rewind the tape on what Mr. Beck has mentioned, as well as maybe something that I just mentioned, could you share with us how you are persevering during the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of your mental wellness? Open the floor.
Okay, so I'll start. This is Ann. Okay, so I definitely 100% agree with what Mr. Beck said. Now, I do have and have had in my youth episodes of depression. I've saw therapists. I have triggers. I still have triggers to this day. And I 100% agree that even before the COVID-19, that the news, the media does play, I would say 99.9% of what you see and hear in intake on a daily basis. And on top of that, even if you're not looking at this type of stuff first thing in the morning, you're walking around with it, you're internalizing it without even really noticing, and it comes out in your behavior, your thought process, and your overall feeling throughout the day. And it's really important that when you're stuck in the house for a year, not knowing the uncertainty of the pandemic, how it's going to affect you, whether or not you're going to survive it, that adds to the problem, which also triggers other things that you already had going on. And so what I have been able to do is to just turn off the news, because it's really, the news is just pieces of information that they choose to put into their system. And I go out and I seek out the positive news that I want to put in my system, if that makes sense. So I pick and choose what I want to see and hear to fill my mind and my body and my soul with positive energy, so that I can make sure that I am not internalizing things unknowingly or being affected by someone else who thrives on that kind of thing that puts it out in the media. So those are just some of the things that I tend to do. And like him, we barbecue all the time. We go and do positive things. We watch funny shows. We sit and laugh and have great conversations. And then the other thing too is that I educate myself with things that I feel that would make me, more fulfilled, and also help improve my overall skill ability so that I can thrive in the workforce or thrive in my business. And those are the things that I kind of have control over. And this is why I guess I sort of always tell people that you have to empower yourself. You can't rely on anyone else to empower you. You have to take the necessary steps to take control of your mental health, because at the end of the day, you're the one that have to live with this every day, your triggers, your emotions, your depression, or what have you. This is something that you have to take control of. And by filling the space or your world with those things that make you happy every day, helps you control some of those triggers and also make you happy in the full fun. And that's what I wanted to offer this morning. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that. And you mentioned this idea of self-empowerment and being resilient and self-improvement. In fact, I coined a term called empowerment. Instead of empowerment, I-empowerment. How do you empower yourself? So my tagline is to inspire, empower, and uplift your damn self from the inside out. So, and you basically just described a way to get yourself together so that you can turn around and help others. Just like Torrance mentioned before, with going on an airplane ride, you have to put your mask on first before you attempt to help others. Why? Because everybody's gonna fall the hell out if you don't put yours on first as the adult. So with that, I wanna see if anyone else has any comments or remarks about self-improvement.
I wanted to make a comment.
Go ahead, Dr. Sheila.
Okay, Ms. Austin and Mr. Beck both talked about making selections when there's news. And Mr. Beck talked about negative news and negative events. I wanted to ask a question about negative people. For me, people can be uppers or they can be downers. So if somebody's an upper, if I talk to them, it make me really happy. I'm smiling. It's so refreshing. But if somebody's a downer, they're so pessimistic and negative, condescending, and always have a conspiracy theory. So my question is, how do you deal, either Ms. Alston or Mr. Beck, how do you deal with people who are that way, so negative? Other than avoiding them, how would you deal with that?
Okay, so
you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, this actually speaks directly to that. I honestly had to make the constant decision to just take those people out of my life. It's not that I don't dislike them as individual, that's just their personality and the way they view the world. But it's not for me to I would say, take on that pressure of trying to be their friend or trying to like them at the cost of my health, if that makes sense. So I usually just say, either there's a couple ways you could do it. Either you can gradually remove yourself from their conversation or their presence, or the availability to allow them to be talking about that. Or when you see them and they start going into that negative space, you can instantly interrupt them and change the subject. Just change the subject to something more positive and get them on a different conversation. And if it seems like that you just cannot do that, then you can always tell them, hey, I'm working on my health right now, so I'm going to be out of pocket. I will talk to you in a few months. And I have done that. And furthermore, I've also removed people from my social media posts who also post negative or condescending things. And I don't allow anyone to tag me or allow me to be posted in their negative feed also. Over.
If I make a comment, so sometimes I can be a negative, a pessimistic person. I have 3 daughters, and sometimes I feel like my oldest daughter, she probably thinks I come down on her too much. But it's because of, just to be honest, it's a trauma. Me and her mother's separated, divorced a couple of years ago, and it was pretty tough. And so like my mom will say stuff to me, and I have to question myself. It's like, man, can I talk to women? Or do I not talk to the women that's in my life, or the ones that love me? And it comes from a learned behavior. I'm not saying it's right, but the things that happened in my childhood, or what I saw in my childhood, what I thought a man was supposed to do, and men don't cry, men don't show emotions, blah blah blah. That stuff is inappropriate. I mean, it's incorrect. And where I'm going with this is my mom. I call my mom. She has health issues, and the first thing she does every time you get on the phone is she talks about her health. Oh, I barely can't breathe today. There's nothing, because she doesn't realize it, because she doesn't, she's stuck in that place. And I'm like, Mom, I don't want to hear that. Like, Mom, if you alive, I don't care you've been to the doctor 12 times a day, as long as you're alive. It's not that I don't care or have care about it, but like my brother, he actually like stopped talking to her for a long time, because as soon as she picks up the phone, I can't breathe, my stomach's hurt. But then she's the one contributing to the issues, but she wants to complain to someone else. She's like, and I'm being vulnerable, but she is like the sick and the shut in. She wants to be on the sick and shut in list so bad that she wants everybody to feel sorry for her, but she's doing nothing to help herself. I barely can't move. I said, Mom, you got to get up and walk. You take 5 steps a day. Tomorrow you can take 6. If you do that every day, you'll be able to take 100 steps and you can breathe. Well, I got COPD. I got all this. I said, Mom, who cares? Life. So like, and that's my mom. So I've actually, like a month and a half ago, I'm like, look, I'm not calling her. I'm not talking to her. I'll look on social media and she's still alive, because she'll be coming on social media. Like, as long as I know she's alive, sometimes I got to take a break. That's my mom. I love my mom, but I got to take a break from my mom, because if I don't, it'll drive me crazy. Always listening to, as soon as you pick up the phone, I talked to yesterday, because she's in the hospital right now. But the way she went and how she carries on, when she went to the hospital, she informed us like late, and then she sent a text message, said she was in the hospital. And she knew she was going to the hospital. She could have picked up the phone and called. I was just down the last week with her, and I saw her Friday. Somebody she wasn't feeling good since Friday. But then why do you wait till you get to the point that you can't, you can't take care of yourself? But the point behind it is, it's my mom, and it's hard. You cannot remove your mom out of your life, but you have to be careful. And something in today's age, we have to realize if somebody calls you, you don't have to answer the phone. You answer the phone, you talk to them when you're ready. They text you something crazy, you don't have to respond. Protect your peace. Whenever you're ready to deal with it, you deal with it. And if they don't understand that, who cares? You got to protect you. Because unless it's an emergency, you don't have to, we are so in this day and age, feel like that as soon as the phone rings, somebody texts, we got to respond. Dr. Bruce texted me this morning like 6:48. I was up because I'm cooking. So I responded back, let him know, hey, I'm ready, I'll be on time. But, sometimes I might not respond back immediately because I might be doing something. And it's okay. And if people don't understand that, it is okay that sometimes you don't have to, when someone is negative and you know they're negative, walk away, woosah, kumbaya, take a break, take a breath, do some push-ups, do anything. And you respond when you feel like you are appropriate, you can respond without any emotional instability. Because if you respond immediately and you know that person irks your nerve, it's going to be a confrontation.
Wow, thanks, Ann and Torrance. That's great. Hamid, you got your hand up. Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something. Look, Mr. Beck, you got to get out of my house. You know what I'm saying? You was speaking to me. You was too deep up in here. All right. So yeah, I can relate. My mother also does a similar behavior. She's like the at times that Jerry Lewis movie. Some of y'all remember, y'all of the age, the Orderly, Disorderly. Jerry Lewis was like a nurse. He went to this retirement home and he was listening to the patients and they were going on and on about their symptoms and all that stuff. He's going through all these changes. It was pretty funny. But that's how some people choose to relate so they can garnish attention for themselves and things like that. And it does wear and tax on the body and then on the emotions. So I really appreciate your, the testimony, because it really did touch me, as well as your advice. And Dr. Sheila, I think I'm gonna have to use absolute. I had never thought about having that type of reply to someone who was doing that, which is just to say, look, I'm doing, I'm looking out for my own health, right? And yeah, because a lot of times it becomes adversarial when we're dealing with people, and they're on the take, and you're just trying to kind of fend them off a little bit. And, and anything you do that pushes them off, it seems like some sort of rejection, but that seems to be like a more selfless, I suppose, a more caring, reasonable way to say, look, I'm just trying not to be dragged underwater, and so definitely I'll have to do that. So I just wanted to chime in on that and say I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Hamid. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
Commander Bruce, this is Jerry. I am listening and I'm learning it, and I think what I'm gathering from all of this is that sometimes we as individuals have to learn that the first law of nature is self-preservation. There's a thin line between self-preservation and being selfish. And if someone is upset with you because you are invoking self-preservation, my position is that I don't have that problem. That's your problem. I want to take care of myself, because if I fail, the people and things that are dependent on me to be strong, if I fail, who's going to take care of them? And, the old adage is, it's a lot easier to stay well than it is to get well. So I'm really happy with the things that we're sharing with each other. I'm a Vietnam veteran. PTSD has been a part of my life, and yet I'm able to manage it. I'm able to manage it because of medication as well as counseling. And so it's no shame in acknowledging that you need help. You know, the same strength that it has taken for me to become a black ops operator or a ranger, I had to use that same tenacity to take care of myself. And I have no shame in asking for help. When I need help, you will be the first to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Commander Taylor. And I appreciate everyone's transparency. And that's the goal of these conversations, for us to be around one another and be comfortable talking about these things. Who else can we talk to about perhaps one of our family members that's causing us the stress and anxiety that we're dealing with? I've heard that the ones that are closest to you are the ones that cause you the most stress and anxiety. Strangers, you can always tell a stranger to, you know, go kick rocks. But your mom, your father, your brother, your sister, your kids, you can't just walk away from them. So I appreciate everyone just chiming in and providing some input to this conversation. Very interactive and contributory. So anyone else before I go on to the next topic?
Hey, Dr. Bruce, I just want to share one thing. So I realized that I was my mom's stressor too. I stressed my mom. So I had to be careful on what I say to her, because I'm stressing her. And because she's my mom, she's always gonna care about me. So like, she tried to tell me how to live, and I'm trying to tell her how to live. So now I'm like, you know what? No, she's an adult, I'm an adult. Be quiet. Let her live her life. She asked me the other day about people from my hometown getting stimulus checks and going to Miami. I said, Mom, that's what they want to do. That's what let them do. I said, that's their life. I'm not trying to judge them, what they do. And then she started talking about her birthday party and et cetera. And I was like, Mom, it sounds like you having a gossip party. You'll get a bunch of, she said she'll get a bunch of old women to sit around and talk about stuff. I said, what are you going to talk about? She said, what do you want to talk about? I said, Mom, all you do is sit around and talk about what people are doing. I was like, that's their business. I said, if you worry about what other people are doing, you drive yourself crazy. And, you know, so when it comes to social media, because we have this social media age too, you know, so many of us on social media, our lives are exposed to so many people. Dr. Bruce goes on a vacation. Well, I got to go on a vacation. Commander Taylor goes on a vacation. I got to go on vacation. No, I don't. It's not in my budget to go on vacation. I don't have the resources. I haven't saved the plan as certain people did. So I need to live my life. Don't get in a rat race. So just, you know, I realized that I can't be a stressor to my mom, even like my kids. Just trying to find a way. Don't stress my kids, and be positive, because sometimes you could be the problem too, and you gotta look in the mirror and own that. And I have, and it's a challenge every day.
Yeah, thanks for that. Sometimes we need to be introspective and see that we could be the problem in what's going on with our lives. In fact, if we can take 1% responsibility for everything that's going on in our life, at least 1%, then that provides you the power. That provides you the power to change it. In fact, in some cases, try this sometimes, take full responsibility for what's going on. And you'll be amazed at that person, whether it's your family member or someone else. When you take full responsibility, they'll say, well, no, you know what, it wasn't all your fault. I take some responsibility as well. So just try it from time to time and see the effects of it. Let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see here. See if this is going to work. All right, can everyone see the screen with the guy, the Army guy? Okay, good.
Yes.
So I'm going to quickly go through this. I know we have about 8 minutes left, but what we talked about today through different conversations and different comments were these activating events or these triggers that we have. They could come from our parents. It could come from that. I've heard that we have someone demonically assigned to us. It could be a coworker, it could be a so-called friend, but they're the person in which when you get that phone call or that text message, you say, oh man, here they go. Here she goes, here he goes. And to identify that person in your life and to figure out a way to cope with them is very important. So what I want to tell you about are these activating events that we have. And as you can see here, it could be divorce. I know, I've gone through a divorce. Others on here have gone through a divorce as well. What we're focusing on in these conversations is the natural disaster of COVID-19. And it can mess up the way that we show up. And mess up is an acronym for these different pain points. Again, we're focusing on mental today. Next week, we'll focus on emotional. Now, when it comes to mental blocks, we have assumptions. We have this assumption that because it has happened in the past, it will certainly happen in the future. Or because it did not happen before, it won't happen in the future. This could be a number of things. For example, we may be stressed out about our job and trying to get a job that pays us more money, or most importantly, gives us more of an alignment between our passion, our purpose, and our power. So you may feel like, well, because I was able to get jobs in the military, get these different assignments, I'll be able to get a good job when I get out or on the outside. Well, that may not be the case based on what's going on in our world today. Then we have these limiting beliefs. There was, for example, with COVID-19, the limiting belief that masks don't work, or that maybe taking the vaccine will actually get you sick. Especially as Black veterans, we remember the Tuskegee experiment. So we're like, I don't know if I want to take that vaccine because I don't trust the government. And again, it's a belief that limits you in some form or fashion. Then we have interpretations. This is what we believe to be true, but that's just your perspective. The way to challenge our interpretations, because they may be false. In fact, there are times in which we should not go with our intuition or that gut feeling. Growing up, you've been told to go with your gut feeling. Well, how many times have your gut feeling been wrong? You may think that someone did something and then you come to find out, oh, it wasn't this person, it was this other person. Oh, it wasn't my son, it was my daughter who actually did it. So interpretations are some things we need to challenge. Bias, you got different isms. You got, yeah, we know about racism, but what about ageism, classism, even lookism? You ever look at somebody and say, yeah, they crazy, or no, I don't want to fool with them because they just don't look right. Well, if we're saying that about certain people, as you can imagine, there are people out there saying that about us as well, especially as Black people, as well as being a Black veteran. And then you put on top of that, disabled Black veteran. There may be some hiring managers out there that look at that and say, I'd rather go with someone else. But again, that could be a limiting belief. And if you believe that, then you may not even attempt to apply for different jobs. And then you have that inner critic. That's the I, the last I in this acronym, alibi. As you know, if it's not an acronym, it doesn't exist in the military. So this is, we went over assumptions, the A, the L was limiting beliefs, the I is interpretations, B is bias, and the last I is that inner critic. That's that negative self-talk. That's that voice that says you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not savvy enough, business savvy, financially savvy. You just don't have what it takes. As Black veterans, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic, we can persevere by challenging these mental energy blocks by, number one, identifying which one of those is affecting us, and then taking step 2, analyzing what is that doing to our energy level. So these are the 7 energy levels. Most of our society resonates between levels 1 and 2, feeling like a victim or feeling like an instigator, either being depressed or being stressed, either being sad or mad. So the idea is to exist between levels 3 and 7, but it all starts in the mind. And you all will get, everyone on this call will get the e-workbook so that you can kind of research and read a bit further into these different things. But the last step is to make a command decision. And there were several of you that talked about inspirational appeal. That's the I in Uplifter. Putting on some good music or cooking when you're stressed out. Something that inspires you will help us persevere during this COVID-19 pandemic. Those were energetic support decisions. These are your practical support decisions, such as perhaps if you're stressed out about your finances, get financial planning. If you don't have anyone that you can trust in your family, many of us may not, but get a financial planner. And there's someone on this call that can help maybe refer you to someone. And then the other one that I want to mention on here, the E in Uplifter, is entrepreneurship. You're going to get to a point, more than likely, I believe, where you're not going to want to work for someone else. So consider and think, many of us have our own companies. Even Torrance mentioned that he has a small company where he cooks. TDH Foods, he caters. So many of us have to keep a 9-to-5 job, but if we can start thinking about entrepreneurship, sooner than later, we can kind of eliminate some of the stress and anxiety associated with our lives. So I just wanted to share that real quickly. We have 1 more minute left. I think we have one person who has joined us. Eddie Peters, can you give us a quick intro?
Good morning. Good morning. Hope y'all can hear me okay. I'm kind of multitasking out here before hitting the road, but privileged to be in the room with each and every one of you, and looking forward to the information and the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. All right. So in line with what I mentioned before, alibi. Are there any alibis? Any saved rounds? Any final thoughts? All right.
Dr. Xavier.
Okay, Commander Eves.
Oh, good morning, gang. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Beck. Thank you for inviting us to this. Has been an awesome event, and I love your wrap up. So please, I hope we get that, because that's very useful. You know, I forgot to say, I was born, bred, and fed out of Washington, D.C. So I need you all to push for statehood for D.C. So I'm gonna throw that in there, because we need to be a state. But I truly enjoyed this, and I think we need to do more of sharing information with each other and helping each other. You know, I do a lot of claims for veterans, a lot of them, like Mr. Beck was talking about the self-medication. I found that even myself as a veteran, I self-medicated when I first got out of the military. You know, I did everything but go to a doctor, seek professional help, because I stayed in denial with what was wrong with me, the things that happened in the military. I wanted to kind of push them behind me. And I was successful for almost 30 years of concealing it. And then one day it just came out. So then that's when I started seeking that help that I did need. But I agree wholeheartedly. I really enjoyed it, gave me a chance to just sit back and regress on what's been then. Dr. Bruce, as usual, you came and just wrapped it up with your presentation. I just love you guys out there in Western Maryland, and I'm looking forward to doing more with you. I want to again say thank you both for a great way to start my morning off. To me, this is a positive step in the right direction to get the weekend as well as this day started off.
All right. Thanks, Commander East. I really, really appreciate that. I want to extend an invitation for anyone on this call to be our next speaker. This is a collaboration in which these conversations are going to be every Saturday at 8 a.m. I know that you all won't be able to join every Saturday, but just know that every Saturday at 8 a.m. we're going to have these conversations. And when you look at that acronym mess up, the second letter is E. The E stands for emotional. So just like Mr. Beck provided a conversation about mental wellness, if any of you want to volunteer to be our next speaker to talk about emotional wellness, please reach out to me offline. I would appreciate it. And also I wanted to let you all know that you will, I put it in the chat pod, but you all will receive a free copy of my e-workbook, Self-Leadership in Transition. So that way, that quick wrap up, you will have that handy electronically. So I'll send that out when I'm done here. I want to thank Mr. Torrance Beck again for his outstanding presentation on mental wellness. It was very enlightening. And thanks again. We're 3 minutes over, but that's okay. That's all right. Hey, if you have any questions, concerns, if you need anything from me, please reach out. But you all have an outstanding holiday weekend. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.